Hi, and welcome to the Changing Perspectives podcast, the show where we discuss a variety of topics including grief, parenting, health and wellness, and relationships. Join us and explore a number of changing perspectives. We're your hosts, Jenni and Josh Brennan. Hi, Jenni.
Hi.
Sorry,
we're your hosts, Jenni and Josh Brennan, and Pixie and Lola. And under the table, Everett.
Is he still under the table?
Oh, yeah. He's hiding. He doesn't think you can see him.
Everyone might hear some banging or some noise when he finally decides to get up out of the table. And I pulled my head away during the opening because Pixie was crawling around and I wasn't sure if she was going to jump. We're being invaded by children now, actually.
There's a teenager in here.
Yeah. The teenager now has joined Everett under the table.
Oh, he's getting music. This is how summer is going to go with Changing Perspectives podcast. All right. So tell us what we're talking about today.
Well, we are talking about, I don't know what we're talking about. I'm overwhelmed and confused. No, welcome everybody. Happy Monday. It is Monday, July 1st. So we're excited to be back with you guys. Hope everybody had an excellent weekend gearing up for the 4th of July. Hope everybody has exciting plans for the holiday. Listen, don't forget to like us, review us.
But not if you're not one of our listeners in America.
Oh, right. We have lots of listeners around the world.
Like if you're our one listener in Korea, you might not be celebrating July 4th.
Listen,
or we have a lot in Australia and the UK and Canada.
You know what? I love that we have so many in Australia. They are huge podcast fans in Australia. I know I'm big
For
fans.
Real?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Well, I mean, no one's going to sue us or anything. Stuff You Should Know is my favorite podcast, and they always talk about their Australian listeners. There's always a bunch of Australia fans that they talk about all the time, and they actually did a live show there a couple of years ago in Sydney.
I don't want to do a live show there because I'm, in addition to being afraid of sharks and turkeys,
Kangaroos?
I'm afraid of kangaroos.
Why are you afraid of kangaroos?
Because male or like adult kangaroos are pretty gnarly. They look like aliens.
Well, I guess that's true.
Like that video of the kangaroo that's trying to get in someone's window. Ugh, it's really, it's terrifying.
Okay, well, koalas are pretty cool.
They are cute. I'll go there for koalas.
And wallabies. And dingoes.
I'm cool with baby kangaroos.
Dingoes.
I do follow a page with a baby kangaroo sanctuary.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We're totally sidetracked.
We're way off track. But episode 30, we're excited to be 30 episodes. That's pretty cool. Check out all of our previous episodes, all the previous 29 Changing Perspectives episodes. We just hit a milestone, over 2,500 downloads, so that's pretty cool. We just started this thing in late March, early April, so it's very exciting. Stay tuned for all kinds of great upcoming content. Great stuff coming your way throughout the summer. A couple of interviews, guest spots and some other shows. And don't forget to check out our Instagram and Facebook pages to submit your questions, listener thoughts, opinions, whatever you want. And we're happy to read that stuff over the air or incorporate it into some upcoming episodes. So next week we have, what's next week? Oh, so I want to do a little teaser. We are going to be doing another pint-sized perspectives probably next week dropping, with some exciting content. Just a little teaser. So be on the lookout for another pint-sized perspective.
I actually think it's not going to be pint-sized.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think it's just going to be a regular one.
Okay, that sounds cool. So this is a part 2, Jenni, a two-parter episode. This is the part 2, right?
True story.
So we released part 1 on this past Thursday, the 27th, and that was part 1 of cognitive behavioral therapy. And we promised everybody that we would do a part 2, and here we are.
Correct. Did you do your homework?
A little bit. I thought about what my core belief was.
Okay, cool. So I was totally expecting you to say no.
Really? I didn't do any worksheets.
Because we didn't talk about it afterwards because we shut off the mics and then I don't
Right.
even remember what happened. Life happened. Probably baseball, lacrosse, and work happened between then and now. So just as a refresher, cognitive behavioral therapy, we talked last week about how our thoughts are connected to our actions. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by these headphones.
You have headphone issues.
I need, now that we've upgraded to fancy microphones, I need fancy headphones. These are like,
well,
I'm super sensitive.
do
Those
your-
who know me know I've got really sensitive hearing too.
Well, do your Amazon thing and find yourself some new
I
headphones.
will. Okay. All right. So last week we talked about the connection between our thoughts, sort of those automatic thoughts that we have, and then our feelings and our behaviors. And you and I shared some examples about those, and we encourage people to sort of think about their own examples, things that bring them sort of worry or anxiety or depression or are kind of roadblocks for them. And we talked about sort of doing a thought log, a thought record, where you're actually writing down some of your thoughts.
And we shouted out some apps that allow you
We
to do
did.
the same thing. The Wobot.
And we talked about sort of turning up the dial on your thoughts inside your head, because we're often not aware of our automatic thoughts. So really it takes a little bit of effort to tune into those. So I was very aware of mine because I've been doing work on this. Josh wasn't quite so aware of his.
No.
So really one of the first steps to cognitive behavioral therapy, when we're talking about kind of doing it in conjunction with a therapist or doing it on your own with like a workbook, is to really kind of lean into those thoughts and figure out what those are. So do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of your process and what you thought your, how you kind of got to your automatic thoughts?
Well, my struggle was my struggle, I was able to define it, or what came to mind was something actually do at work when you are engaged in a quality tool for improvement. You're looking at a problem, you're analyzing a problem, and you talk about how to get to a solution. But if you don't do the work, you don't thoroughly do your needs assessment or whatever, look at the background information, you solution jump. So I think that's the phrase that came to mind. So I think I was solution jumping the other day when I was talking about my stress.
What is solution jumping?
Okay, so solution jumping is, let's say you identify some sort of an issue, a miss, an incident, or some sort of failure, and you, instead of looking at the process to see what happened, to see where the miss was, where the gap was, you jump to the end and say, okay, I think we should do this.
Gotcha.
And what if you do that thing and it doesn't actually solve what the miss was because you didn't take the time to review it? So for me, on my stress with trying to get to my goal of weight loss and health and get back to being an avid runner, which is where my stress was, I was just going, well, I'm not doing X, Y, Z, or I need to drink more water, I need to do this, but my core belief, my core stress, my core whatever is, I don't think I'm ever going to get there.
So you got there. I'm not surprised, because often there are very similar kind of core beliefs that people have. Things like that, like I'm never going to succeed. I'm a failure. I'm not worthy. Things like that.
Well,
as you kind of drill down, you get there. So how did you get there? Because
Well-
I thought, I'm just going to keep cutting you off. Sorry.
I'm about to shout you out and say thank you, but go
well,
ahead.
that's what
Keep
I thought,
cutting me
like
off.
in the moment. And I even may have like asked you that, but you needed to get there on your own. So how did you turn up the dial on your thoughts?
That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to say thank you for that, because I wanted to turn up the dial or listen to what was really behind the stress. Mm-hmm. What was behind the stress of me,
like the block,
not having enough, being stressed out about not drinking enough water, or stressed out about this particular meal, or stressed out about not being able to get my run in. What does it really come down to? That core belief. I turned up those, what did you call them?
volumes.
Turn up the volume on what, though?
Your automatic thoughts.
Automatic thoughts. That's what I was looking for. And oh my God, I don't think I'm ever going to get there.
I don't think I'm
Get
ever going to
back
get there.
there.
Okay, so I'm
Get
going to
back
do
there,
I'm going to do a
because-
like arrow down technique
Yeah.
on you now. So what would it mean?
Are we going to go
about-
back to your social anxiety thing at some point? Because I like how you didn't even mention that. but go ahead.
Yes, we will. We examined mine when we looked at all the unhelpful
Yes,
thinking,
that's true.
the cognitive
That's very
distortions.
true.
It was my example that we looked at.
By the
So-
way, Jacob just listened. We just listened to the other episode in the car
Oh, you did?
on the way home, and he was laughing at that whole.
Me?
Yeah, what was? I don't have the unhelpful thinking things in front of me, but the one where you catastrophize about the time. He was laughing his butt off on that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I lost. So what would it mean about you? What would it mean if you never get there?
Well, I don't. Do you really want me to say that? Do you want me to say what comes to mind? Or no?
Yeah, I guess.
Death, actually.
Okay.
It's very, I don't know, morbid.
Well, so
morbid
then what
thinking.
would that mean if you don't get there and you die? Then what does that say about you? What would that say about you?
Do you need my insurance card? What's your copay? What would it mean? I mean, oh my god.
Yeah, what would that say about you if you're never able to get to your weight loss goal and then you die because you're unhealthy? What would that mean?
Boy, this is heavy.
I'm arrowing down. We're getting to like a deeper core belief there.
I just secretly shouted out Back to the Future. Oh my God, it would mean that I am a complete failure
Yeah.
at not only my own life and health, but as a dad and a husband.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So see how we kind of drilled down and saw that one of your core beliefs, one of the things that you're most worried about is being a failure at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ring true?
Yeah.
Like if you kind of pull all the layers around?
There was a moment today. I'm gonna continue to get real, if that's okay.
Yeah.
You were vulnerable last time. I can be vulnerable this time.
Okay.
Even in the summer, our boys are super busy.
Yes.
It's exciting. It was a long day. We went from baseball this morning, way far away, to lacrosse tonight. And, we had to do some errands, and we had a little bit of time in the middle where I had to take care of the jungle that used to be our lawn and mow the lawn. But the boys are really into playing wiffle ball together in the front yard, all three of us. There's like usually an automatic pitcher or not a pitcher. It's just me and Jacob versus Jackson. And we've got this tiny little baseball diamond we play on. They really love playing, just the three of us. And
I'm going to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I hate it because of my social anxiety, because it's our front yard. So all of our neighbors can see if I'm out there playing with you guys.
Yeah.
Everybody drives by and they're all like,
I will
look,
say,
they
though,
slow down and look. And
They love when you play.
I know.
They
And I
love it.
love that they
Yeah.
want me to play, but I hate it because of the social anxiety piece.
So I'll try to make this quicker, but basically, I was mowing the front lawn, and I usually mow the front lawn, then the backyard. It usually takes me about 45 minutes to do the whole thing. And I had just a little bit of time before we had to get on the road to go to Jacob's Lacrosse, and he came out to the front yard and said, he interrupted me and said, how much more time? We want to play wiffle ball. And I wasn't even thinking. I answered him. I said, like, I'll be done in the front yard in like 5 more minutes. You guys can come outside and play. What he was really asking
Oh,
is
yeah,
when
because I was on the other side of this. So now I understand what happened.
when am I going to be ready to play?
Yes.
And I felt so bad once I realized that the two of us had like a little fight about it, because he interrupted me like 20 minutes later when I was almost done with the backyard, or 25 minutes later. He's like, what happened to 10 minutes? I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, I thought you were going to be done. We were waiting to play. I said, you waiting for me to play? He said, yeah. I said, oh, let's do it. He's like, no, we have to leave. And we went back and forth. Anyway, we did go out there. We played for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We all got a couple of at-bats. But I had a moment when I was gathering up some wiffle balls to throw back to Jackson on the pitching mound. And I thought to myself, I had this thought, I cannot leave them.
Is that because it's kind of been like on your brain a little bit because you
Yeah.
turned up the automatic thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I I didn't say that last time. I forgot to. And I try to remember to say this to clients when I meet them for the first time and I tell them to turn up their automatic thoughts is you probably will feel worse at first.
Yeah.
Because you're tuning into like the voices in your head. And so often they're not like, you're amazing, you're great, you've got this voices. They're these scary kind of doomsday voices that tell you really awful things about yourself. And when you lean into those, you carry that around. So I'm sorry I didn't give you a heads up about that.
Yeah,
I'm not
thanks.
surprised by any of that.
Right.
It's hard when you turn up that dial. And I don't want you to keep the dial up all the time.
No,
You can turn it back down. But I think it's really important. And this is kind of why CBT is so, I think, such a great tool and why it's something that I thought we could talk about on an episode is because you can do this by yourself, right? Like you did all of that work by yourself.
Right.
All I did was tell you to turn up the volume and give you a little bit of corrective sort of advice in the beginning. And then just now I did the sort of arrow down technique where I said, okay, there's the core value, core belief that you've come up with. Now, what would that say about you if that's true?
Right.
And then kind of drilling it down until you reach the point where you feel like, oh, okay, this is the big picture thing here.
Yeah.
And I feel like we got there with
Yeah,
you. But you could
absolutely.
do that on your own if you are focused. You know, if you take some time to really turn up that volume, you maybe jot things down if you need to write things down, maybe go sit somewhere that's meaningful for you where you can actually do some thinking and kind of get there on your own. Because then when you get there, that's a really powerful insight to have. So here's the now what, right? Like now that you've identified your automatic thoughts, your core belief, what you're really afraid of, now what do you do with that? And any thoughts, like now that you've kind of been sitting with that?
I don't know.
Like
I
as
mean,
you picked up the wiffle balls today and you thought, I can't leave them. I have to be here for them. What did that sort of make you feel? Kind of getting back to the thought, the connection between thoughts, feelings, behaviors.
I felt scared, actually.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
felt scared.
Fear
and
came
then
into mind.
what did you do?
I couldn't do really anything. I just was 100% there in
So
the
that's what
short
you did.
time. Yeah. I mean,
So
I
you
was
like
just,
you didn't care about, you didn't go mow the lawn then. You didn't say,
no.
we have to go, this is annoying or anything like that. Not that you ever do that, but the behavior was that you were all in.
I was all in, and I know we only had a short period of time to play together, so I said, let's just enjoy this next 5 minutes.
And we're getting real. Was there the fighting that usually happens in wiffle ball? Usually when the three of you play wiffle ball, at some point there's yelling and shouting and someone comes in the house and slams doors.
Because, well, I don't usually do that. but-
You're not usually the one that slams doors. But things usually fall apart.
Yes,
I don't think
because-
did things fall apart tonight?
Not really.
I didn't hear any of it.
The only thing that fell apart was Jacob was getting a little stressed out about not getting to lacrosse on time. And I think he misunderstood where we were going. It was closer than he thought. So, you know, when I told him, no, it's only 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away, I checked my phone and the traffic's not too bad. So I said, we can get one more at bat, like one more inning. We're fine. It's fine. That was the only fighting, actually. But the usual tiff between Jackson and Jacob didn't happen. Actually, the last time we played before this, there wasn't that much fighting.
Were you? I'm wondering if that had anything to do with the fact that you were all in.
Maybe.
Just something to.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to kind of think about that. So this is the sort of what now. Actually, before I go there, I want to take some responsibility for that because the reason Jacob was freaking out was because I catastrophized about time.
Oh my goodness.
Because he said earlier in the day. So I was inside grading midterms and preparing for class, and you were
Yes.
doing the lawn and the outside stuff. So I had one side of the children, you had the other side of the children.
Yes.
So Jacob asked me, what time is lacrosse? And I said 6, and he said, how far away is it? And I said, it's about 45 minutes. And he said, well, I want to get ready there. And I said, then you should leave at 5. So it's not 45 minutes away. But
No,
one
it's
day when we were going to a doctor's appointment, it took us an hour
Yes, I
in the
remember. That
morning
was
to
crazy.
get there. So now I'm thinking, now that's my
Nice
not always. So
magnification.
that was my fault. Did you find your notes?
No. Yes, I did.
You did. All right. So I take responsibility for that. That's where that came from. So today's episode is about the now what. So once you kind of get to the place that Josh has gotten to, or that I got to last week with kind of the thoughts, it's that then what you do is you really examine your thoughts and start to gather evidence to disprove your thoughts.
Okay.
And give yourself some alternative behaviors, alternative reactions, alternative thoughts about those things. So, we'll go back to, you've been very vulnerable, so thank you. So I'll go back to me now. So talking about sort of the social anxiety piece, I use the example of getting invited to a party and sort of drilling that down to nobody likes me, I'm not good enough. In knowing what sort of my fears are, what I like to use with people is sort of a ladder technique. So think about your problem, the thing you're most scared of. Oh, I know what I wanted to connect this to. This came up over the weekend. One of our children has a very significant fear of bridges, going over bridges, which could turn into a phobia. Like it's a real thing. Can't open his eyes, completely shuts down, can't focus. The other child makes fun of him. And I'm always the one driving, so I'm always trying to talk him through it.
Yeah.
It's not like a panic attack, but this is where things can sort of turn into phobias. What CBT would tell us to do is to kind of drill down there and kind of find out what he's afraid of, and then have him do some exposure therapy. Really kind of get to a place where he's gathering confidence with things. So really getting comfortable with, the goal, sort of the top rung of the ladder would be, I can drive across a bridge with my eyes open and I can be breathing, as opposed to holding my breath.
Right.
Right. That would probably be sort of a good goal for him. Can you think of sort of steps backwards from that? Like knowing right now he closes his eyes, he like ducks down in his seat, he can't breathe. I'm not revealing which of the two children it is.
I'm not really sure. So what would the next step for him be?
Yeah, we could either one end of the ladder is he could go across the bridge, eyes wide open, breathing normally, no feeling of any discomfort. And the other end of the ladder is where he is right now, which is I can't breathe, can't open my eyes. I'm ducked down in my seat and I'm just terrified until someone tells me it's over. Imagine a ladder with rungs on it. What would kind of be the next step for him? Like where he could sort of inch out of his comfort zone and do something that's just a little uncomfortable.
Probably looking.
Okay, so
keeping
his eyes open.
He can still slunk down
and still hold his breath, but maybe open his eyes. That's kind of what I told him to do last time. Was see how long he could keep his eyes open for. So that's sort of a technique that you could use if it's something that you're scared of, is start to sort of identify what your end goal would be, and then what are the steps to get there. Break that down into very attainable steps that aren't easy, but they're not terrifying.
What if you sort of drill down on what he can see affects his fear? Is it looking down? Is it looking up? Is it looking
you could
straight?
so really kind of gather evidence about his thought pattern. So I just remembered as we're talking, I wanted to share that because that came up over the weekend.
Yeah, it did.
But if we get back to my social anxiety and we think about sort of exposure therapy sort of stuff, what for me would be the scariest thing around my social anxiety? Do you have any idea what it would be? Like what would be the thing that would make you go like, oh, that would be terrifying for Jenny to do?
I think being the center of attention.
Yeah,
in some sort of way. And I think it's the fear of having that happen during a social event.
Yeah, it's the social piece because I can
Yeah.
be the center of attention when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's being called out or being involved in a scuffle or an argument or
Oh, yes, you're right. Conflict
conflict
in front of people.
in conflict in a social setting that you are a part of. That would freak you out
Okay.
the most.
Well, I can't create that. I'm trying to think what would be the scariest thing for me. So I guess just being the center of attention at like at a social gathering, somehow being the center of attention.
Yeah.
So that would be like the 100% scariest thing for me.
Yes.
What would be like 50% of that fear for me? What would be something that wouldn't be quite that scary, would be probably 50% as scary.
Well, I guess, can we tie it into the invite piece?
Sure.
I guess the scary thing is maybe being left out.
No, that's what I'm afraid of. But what would be something I could do that would be
I see what you're
uncomfortable for me
saying. Okay.
to sort of tackle the social anxiety? Because we're in the sort of, all right, now what? What would be a
So-
behavior?
Okay, I get it. So I guess you reaching out.
That's Everett. He's left the table.
Oh my goodness. Knowing a social gathering is happening and you reaching out.
To invite myself?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm having heart palpitations right now. Okay.
Or even say, "Hey, what are we doing today? What's going on today? What's everybody doing?"
That's
like you would
horrifying.
never.
Okay, so that's 100% scary for me.
Yes. Okay.
So like
We're there.
me saying to someone, not like inviting people to see me, but me saying like,
Yeah.
hey, is anyone doing anything today that you want to invite me to?
Yeah.
Or like driving by someone's house and seeing cars and being like, hey, can I come over?
Right.
Okay, that's 100% scary for me.
Okay.
Okay, I like this. What would be 50% of that fear for me? Like what would be something that's not quite that, but would also be uncomfortable for me?
I don't know.
Okay. So I'm thinking, going with your example, what would kind of be half as scary, but still scary, would be maybe reaching out ahead of time and saying to people, hey, I'm off on Friday this week.
Okay.
If anyone's going to wind up doing anything, let me know.
Okay.
Right. So it's not like
Yeah.
in the moment. It's not like, hey, you're having a party right now. Can I come?
Right. Right.
But it's still putting
So
myself
that's
out
a
there.
little less scary for you.
It's still terrifying, but less terrifying. So like the first thing is 100% terrifying.
So the first thing.
This is 50%
The first
terrifying.
thing is there's a social gathering.
Yes.
The second thing is you don't know there's one.
Yes, but I suggest
Just in
that
case
I
there's one, I'm around.
would like to be included.
Okay. So
Okay.
all right, that's the latter for you, the lesser
Yes.
rung.
So then what would be 25% scary?
So okay. It may be the 50%. My thoughts are it would be, let's say, a group message or a group text, or you say it to multiple
Okay.
people.
Uh-huh.
So maybe the 25% one is just to one person, maybe the person in the group that you're the closest to, or I don't know, maybe just to one person.
And like inviting them out somewhere or?
No, saying to one person,
Oh, like I really want to see you this weekend. Let me know what you're doing.
right, that, or just talking to one person saying, hey, do you know if anything's going on this weekend? I'm around.
Okay.
I don't know.
That also sounds scary to me. That sounds like 50%.
Is that the same?
That feels like the same.
Okay.
I think of
So maybe just one
25% for me
person.
would probably be me planning a social thing and asking someone to come. Like,
Oh,
do you want to
okay.
go get drinks with me or do you want to go out to
I
dinner?
see.
Because that would be
Yeah,
scary because
yeah.
they might say no or they might cancel at the last
But then,
minute.
and so I see why that's less scary, because if they say no, they're not going to be like, no, I just don't want to.
Right.
But, I mean,
My automatic thought will be they're
that they
saying
don't
no,
want
they
to,
just don't
but
want
they
to.
might say,
Yes.
"Oh, I've got plans. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have this. I've
So it
that,
would
I'm
still be
working."
scary enough for me that it would sort of trigger these automatic thoughts. So
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of the now what? Okay, I've identified this problem. I've identified what my thoughts are. I've kind of started to punch some holes in those theories, looking at all the sort of cognitive distortions we talked about last time.
Right.
Now, I can't just sit in this place with these thoughts and these feelings. I've got to change my behavior a little bit. And so I'm going to start to just sort of lean out of my comfort zone just a little.
Are we supposed to lean into things?
Well, we can lean into discomfort then. Okay. Just a little bit. Like, it's got to be enough to make you kind of feel like uncomfortable, but not enough that it's going to make you not want to do it at all.
Okay.
And then you build success and you pay attention to, all right, what are my automatic thoughts in those moments? What am I thinking? Then you sort of, you go through the whole cycle again. Am I applying an all or nothing sort of approach? Am I applying a mental filter? Am I catastrophizing? Are those things true? What evidence do I have that they are true or aren't true? And then, okay, what actually happened? Oh, well, they said yes, and I was able to go out and have a good time, and I had fun, and it seems like they had fun. And then you sort of, your goal is to get to that top rung on the ladder, that 100% scary thing that you want to do. So that is what the next step is in cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's sort of staying in that loop of those thoughts, feelings, behaviors, kind of like a snowball moving kind of down a hill. It's just building upon itself. But it's this constant loop and evaluation that you're doing of your thoughts, then your feelings, then your behavior. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So the what I'm looking at here on my notes from last time, the cycle, it says thoughts, behaviors, bodily sensations, and emotions. What does it mean by bodily sensations?
Well, when you feel... Well, like when our child is going over a bridge,
okay,
he has probably a bodily sensation. And when you just said those sort of options of, like, calling someone or just saying, hey, can I come over? I actually feel that in my chest. So often when people are feeling anxiety or sadness or just worry, they feel it somewhere physically, maybe a racing heart.
Right.
Maybe shallow breathing, maybe tightness in their chest, maybe shaking hands, maybe just shaky voice.
Right.
Kind of that feeling, that physical sensation. Sometimes that's important to kind of lean into as well and pay attention, because sometimes that can be not a trigger, it can be an alert system for you.
So you're continually evaluating or reevaluating where you are once you've reached that point that, the 25% where you can, you're comfortable with that. But you gotta be really paying attention to all of those signs.
Yes.
Right? Being stuck back in that cycle.
Yes. And so this is why CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, does pair well with a therapist, because then you break these down into weekly sessions. So this week, last week we sort of talked about your automatic thoughts. If I'm going to use you as the client, we helped you understand what's an automatic thought, what's a core belief. I gave you a homework assignment of, all right, turn up your volume and come back next week and tell me sort of what your thought record was. Then you come into session this week, we kind of explore that, we unpack it a little bit, and then we give you sort of another task to do, something to kind of pay attention to lean into. It depends on what your problem is. If it's an anxiety, maybe we teach you some coping strategies to use as you're going across the bridge. Maybe we say, okay, can you commit this week to calling a friend and scheduling a time to go out? And that's your homework assignment. And then you journal about it, you write a thought record about it, you kind of lean into it, pay attention to it, then you go back the next week and unpack that and sort of talk about it. Everett's really bored. So that, yes, you are in this constant loop. You can do it by yourself through like workbooks.
Right.
It just means you have to kind of stay diligent and dedicated.
And use a lot of inward perception, like be really in tune to your thoughts and turn up the volume and that automatic thinking.
Yeah. And be really critical of your thought process too, right? Like, because you can sit across from a therapist who's going to sort of do a better job poking holes in your story. This week, I had a client who, as is so common, their sort of core belief is, I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough mom. I'm not a good enough wife. I'm not smart enough. I'm not successful enough, and launched into this whole long list of all the things she hasn't done in life that she's embarrassed about and afraid about. And then a couple like big accomplishments sort of slipped out as she was sort of listing her laundry list of what she perceives as failures. And I was able to poke holes in that, right? I was able to say, you just listed all of these things that you feel like you haven't done, but there's a couple really huge ones that you sort of let slip out that I didn't even know about you. Why are you applying that filter? Why do the negative things mean so much? And she was like, oh, I didn't even realize that. So sometimes you do need someone else to sit with you and say, hello, wait a second. So workbook, book, great place to start, but also be aware at some point you might feel like, okay, I think I'm ready to kind of have a little bit of guidance on this. Yeah. The thing about getting cognitive behavioral therapy is it tends to be pretty short term. If you find a cognitive behavioral therapist and you're saying, I really want to work on my social anxiety, you're probably going to be able to be done in 6 or 7 sessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You just need a little bit of like a coach almost.
Okay.
But there might be bigger issues too at play.
So why don't we take a quick break?
Okay.
And we'll come back and finish this up.
Okay.
All right. We will be right back.
What's up, everybody? My name's Tim from the Shut Up and Dad podcast, and I hope you're enjoying this show. If you're looking for some laughs after you finish listening to this episode, come check out Shut Up and Dad. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and your favorite podcast platform by searching Shut Up and Dad, or simply head to our website, shutupanddad-podcast.com, where you can listen to episodes, read our blog, and find links to our show. That's shutupanddad-podcast.com.
All right, we are back. I wanted to apologize real quick. I spent all day outside and there's still pollen, and I've got my throat's a little scratchy, I'm a little sniffly, so I keep hitting the mute button, but you probably hear me in the background dealing with that. I think
you do have allergy eyes.
Yeah, the last episode, I think I was a little I think
pollen maybe it's
heavy
time for
too.
allergy meds.
Maybe. So we're back, and I think we've done a nice job, or you've done a nice job, sort of telling us about what the now what is, what the next step is, deciding what your end goal is, and understanding where you are now by turning up the automatic thinking so you can hear it, understanding what your core beliefs are, recognizing the unhelpful thinking styles, and labeling those and owning them. To
change your core beliefs, right? Because if your core belief is, I'm a failure at everything, we need to change your core belief into, I'm a success. Right. Maybe not at everything, because then you're a narcissist. But I don't know, what would be a healthier core belief for you? Like, where would you want to get to?
For me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that a healthier core belief would be to really own the fact that health, isn't just defined by one thing.
Okay.
And that it is a marathon and it's a journey, not this quick thing.
So
there's no magic pillar or whatever.
So you'd want to be able to say, like, I'm in control of my health.
Yes. And I think that, just to be fair, when you are a death care professional or an end-of-life specialist like I am, you come to terms with your own mortality all the time, because it's right in your face all the time. And so to be sort of putting how you live your life through that filter is a tall order. Like, it's tough to sort of live that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that would be, owning the fact that health isn't just one thing, and that it's a journey. It's a,
Okay.
I'm not going to get there tomorrow, the next
All right.
day,
So
but I will get there.
that's kind of where you want to go.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like to encourage you to sort of do that. Do some
Yeah.
of the stuff we talked about, sort of like
This is
try
really-
it on your own.
Yeah.
And sort of see where that leads you, specifically around the weight loss, the healthy eating, the running, that kind of stuff. Kind of paying attention to your automatic thoughts and poking holes in them,
Yeah.
and sort of pushing yourself to make behavioral changes that are the changes you want to make. And then really kind of rewarding yourself, recognizing when you do
just about
things
to
right.
ask you about that. Like, how do you, once you're at a point, like once the son of ours that is the bridge phobia, once he gets to a point where he can at least open up his eyes at some point or whatever, how do you celebrate that? Or how do you say, I've reached that level and now I need to move on to the next level, but what's a good way to recognize that or reward
You
that?
recognize all of the steps. So if he's able to, if we were to give him a homework assignment and say, okay, next bridge we go over, I want you to keep your eyes open for, or we would say, like, how do you feel about keeping your eyes open for 2 seconds or 2 breaths, something like that, something really tangible. And then if he does it, how did you feel about that? What were you thinking during that? And then applying, kind of gathering evidence. Were you applying a filter?
Right.
All that stuff, and helping him to point out the positive and feel successful. Like, okay, I can do this.
So
if I can keep my eyes open for 2 breaths, maybe next time I could keep them open for 3 breaths.
So you're not talking about like going out and buying yourself something nice, right? As a reward.
No, I mean,
you're
if
talking
that-
about
if that
recognizing
motivates-
the
listen.
success.
We used to teach preschool, right?
Yes.
Like sticker charts,
Yep.
marble jars, all
Positive
that stuff.
reinforcement.
I think if that works for you as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
If you want to say, if I can make it across a bridge, I am going to buy myself a new TV,
Okay.
and that's motivating for you, sure, do it.
Yeah.
If you, whatever's going to work for you, whatever's going to be a meaningful way for you
Yeah.
to sort of reward yourself.
And
Because
celebrate that success.
what we're talking about is doing some work here on
Yes.
yourself. And it's sort of likening it to sort of physical fitness. If you're, I think a lot of trainers that we've worked with or group fitness instructors say, like, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's not exactly comfortable to do squats or lunges or, sprint on the treadmill. It's uncomfortable. But that's where the change happens,
Right.
like
Well,
physically. And that's also where it happens when we're talking about cognitive behavioral therapy. To change that pattern between your thoughts, your behaviors, your feelings, you have to sort of get a little uncomfortable.
Well, I certainly felt that way over the past few days when I was thinking about this and trying to turn up the volume on those automatic thoughts. I really started to feel uncomfortable, even through today.
Yeah.
But now, as we sort of work through it in real time on this episode,
Yes.
I'm starting to feel better.
I also, I'm glad. Another thing I tell people to do to sort of pair with turning that volume up when you're paying attention to the automatic thoughts is to then talk to yourself.
Yes.
So
we
I
talked
know-
about this in different
I know
episodes,
that my therapist tells me to listen to the voices in my head and to talk to myself. She is crazy. Not all the time. Don't do it forever. But, really when you're hearing those automatic thoughts that aren't good, that aren't positive, that are like, oh, you're a loser. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
You're never going to do this. You might as well just give up. That you then sort of in the moment start to sort of reality test those.
Yeah.
No, Jenny, you're catastrophizing. No, you're applying all or nothing thinking. Nope, this is a mental filter. Stop.
No, Jenny, it's not 8:00. It's only 6:15.
Yeah, like that would be a thing I should tell myself. Like,
Yeah.
Or when, next time I get an invite somewhere, which might not happen ever now. If my friends are listening to this, they're like, Jenny's crazy.
Yeah, we're not going to invite her anymore. That ship has sailed.
Yes. When I get an invite and I hear my automatic thought go being, they don't really want me there. I'm talking about saying actually to myself, maybe out loud, Jenny, stop. Do you know that for sure? Are you future telling? Are you mind reading?
Yeah.
Really kind of asking myself that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that forever, but when you are sort of laying down new pathways in your brain, it takes some time. It takes some effort.
Yes.
And I sort of liken it to going on a hike because I'm very visual.
Okay.
I don't really like hikes that much because there's bugs and snakes and all that stuff. But imagine you are going on a hike. There's paths that are already kind of worn down, right? Those are the paths you take. You could like bring a machete on your hike and sort of clear a new path for yourself. Clear some brush, cut down some trees, take a new path. You could do that. It's hard work. It's harder. But eventually you're going to wear down a new path. And so the next time you go for a hike in that area, it's going to be easier to go down that new path that you just cleared. And in a year, that path's going to be just as worn down as the other path, and you can choose. I think of our sort of patterns between our thoughts, our behaviors, our feelings, kind of like that. They're pathways. They're just, our brain's going to take the path that's easier to take.
Exactly.
If we for years have always automatically thought every time we get an invite somewhere that it's a fake, phony invite, then that's just what our brain's going to always think. But I can form new pathways in my brain. I can train my brain to not have those automatic thoughts. I can train it to eventually think, oh, that's cool. That sounds fun.
Right.
They must like me.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually, but it takes work. And so
Right.
that's what we're talking about right now. The what now is the work phase. It's time to kind of do some work. And
Yes.
it's hard. It's uncomfortable. We really need Everett to do some work because
Everett
he
needs
is
some
making
CBT,
everyone uncomfortable right now.
like you read about.
I think maybe he needs CBD oil. We need to
That's
look into
true.
some CBD
We
stuff
do.
for dogs. He needs to mellow
I think people
out.
do give it to dogs.
I know on our
Yeah.
list is someone to come on and talk about CBD. I don't really know anything about it.
Me either.
So, because I've never done pot, I know nothing about.
Neither
any
have
of
I.
this. Different topic for a different day.
So one of the notes that you had given me last time, a little sort of one pager about cognitive behavioral therapy. It says what you think and do affects the way you feel. The last sort of point here is it says, it's like an infographic. I like this. I don't know if you can put this one on the show notes.
I don't know. I'll have to see which one that is and who it's credited to.
Psychologytools.org.
Oh, yeah, I can put that up.
Yeah, put this one up. So it says, CBT is about finding out what is keeping us stuck and making changes in our thinking and actions in order to improve the way we feel. It is a collaborative therapy and needs your active participation in order to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of evidence to show it is an effective treatment. I think that really does sum it up. And I looked at this one pager last time and I didn't quite fully grasp exactly what it was. And now we've gone through the work. Last week we talked about the unhelpful thinking styles. And again, you can find those in the show notes from last week. We've gone through the sort of what now and the goal setting. And I really get exactly.
It clicked for you?
It clicked.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Again, sort of going back to what we talked about last week, though, this is something that you literally you can spend an entire semester on. You can once a week for 14 weeks for
Just
3
scratching
hours.
the surface
You
here
can
on
go
CBT.
and dive into CBT. You can read hundreds of articles and books and workbooks and still have more to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just an introduction so that it hopefully inspires you to kind of think about where are you stuck? What are you kind of struggling with? Is this something that could work for you? If you're someone that's been thinking about therapy, but you're kind of scared of it, does this make it seem a little more accessible for you? A little less scary? Does this seem like something that could work? Does it seem like something you could drop $8 on a book or $20 on a workbook and give it a try yourself to see if you can get some success? But yeah, it's work. It's not like, oh, okay, I totally get it now. I'm fixed. My problem is fixed.
It's not
here's
about,
some tools for you to sort of change that triad between your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors.
And it's not about, and those bodily sensations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not about, receiving some sort of treatment from a provider or a clinician. It's actively being a participant in your own therapy.
For sure.
Yeah.
You got to do your homework.
Yeah. All right, Jenny. Well, do you have anything else for us on CBT for today?
No, but if you have questions, you can reach out.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, that is going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can learn more on this topic by checking out Feeling Good, the book by the author David Burns, and those apps we mentioned last week, the Wobot and the CBT Diary, a thought diary. And Jenny's going to put that infographic in the show notes as well. Just as a reminder, this episode was for education and entertainment purposes only. Should you need additional support, please contact your healthcare provider for information and referrals. Please go ahead and follow us on Facebook at Changing Perspectives Podcast and on Instagram at Changing Perspectives Blog. You can check out our website by going to changingperspectivesblog.com or send us an email to changingpodcast@gmail.com. And we just hope everybody has a safe and happy July 4th. Happy July 4th, everybody. For those that are in the U.S. and for those outside the rest of the world, just enjoy your July 4th. Hope everybody's enjoying their summer. Go ahead and subscribe to the show, everybody, so you'll never miss an episode. And we will see you next time. Say bye, Jenny.
Bye, Jenny.
The Changing Perspectives podcast is produced, recorded, and edited by Dizzy-Bird Studios, Whitman, Massachusetts. Visit Dizzy-Bird Studios on Facebook, facebook.com/Dizzy-Bird Studios.